Welcome to Eco Learner Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. My name is Mr. Babajide Olanrewaju and I am your favorite English language teacher. Is it raining outside? Does it look as if you'll be available for tomorrow's party? Nigeria is one of the greatest countries in Africa. All these are examples of sentences that we use on daily basis. In today's adventure, we are going to be looking at the word of sentences. What are sentences and what functions do they perform? I'll be taking you on this ride and I hope you are staying tuned with me as we go on this journey.
Eco Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
Today, our topic is sentences according to function. We are looking at sentences according to the functions they perform in a particular passage, in an essay, or when it is being written down or said. Our learning objective. At the end of this lesson, students will be able to 1. Describe what a sentence is. Describe a sentence according to function. Discuss the type of sentences according to function and give adequate examples of sentences according to function. The question is, what is a sentence? When we talk about sentences, or when we talk about a sentence, we say the sentence is the largest grammatical unit, and by definition, we are referring to a group of words that begin with a capital letter and ends with any of the 3 punctuation marks, which is the period or full stop, the exclamation mark, and the question mark. We can also say that a sentence is a group of words giving a complete thought with a subject and a verb, meaning that every sentence must have a subject, it must also have a verb, and it must express a complete thought or idea. For example, the boy goes to school every day. The boy goes to school every day. When you look at this sentence, it has a subject, which is the boy. It has a verb, which is goes to. Then it also has other elements, but we understand that it has expressed a complete thought and idea. Let's look at what sentences according to functions are. When we talk about the classification of the English sentences, we have 2 types. We have sentences according to the function they perform, and we also have sentences according to structure. That is the way the structure of a sentence appears. Today, we will focus on the function of this sentence, meaning that what function do they perform when we write. Many times, when students write their essays, they cannot identify the function some of the sentence they've used in the essay is performing. It is important to note that you should be able to identify the functions of your sentences when you write them. Let's move on as I will treat us to how we can identify the functions of our sentences. Types of functional sentences. You can either call it sentences according to function or the functional sentences. In English language, we have 4 types of functional sentences. The first one is called the declarative sentence. The declarative sentence. The second one is the interrogative sentence. We have the interrogative sentence. The third one is the exclamative sentence. And the last one is the imperative sentence. We will be looking at each of these sentences and how to identify or use them when we write. What is a declarative sentence? Or what are declarative sentences? Declarative sentences are the most commonly used of all, the sentences we have in the English language. We use declarative sentence to do the following. Number one, we use it to make a statement. You want to make a statement. You want to say something. You make use of your declarative sentence. For example, you want to make a statement, like, I am going to school. I will visit you tomorrow. I am a girl. I am a boy. The man is coming tomorrow. We make use of the declarative sentence. We also use it to give an opinion. You want to give an opinion about something, about somebody, or you want to express your idea about a thing. You make use of the declarative sentence. We also use it to provide an explanation. Something went wrong and you are trying to explain, or you want to explain the reason why a thing should be the way it is. You make use of your declarative sentences. And finally, we can use it to give facts. Sometimes we also use it to state truth. For example, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Those are examples of truth. When we want to state a fact, for example, Nigeria is the largest country in West Africa. We make use of declarative. Let's look at some of these examples. The first one, I like singing, which is a statement. It is a statement, as we've said earlier on, that your declaratives can be statements. The second, I don't like singing. It is an opinion. Thirdly, it is cold because we forgot to put the heater on. It is an explanation. And the last one, the capital of Nigeria is Abuja, which gives a fact. All these are examples of declarative sentences. Do you now know what your declarative sentences are? Beautiful. Let's move to the next type of sentences. The next type of sentences that we have here, according to the functions they perform, is the imperative sentence. What are imperative sentences? Imperative sentences are used to give a command. You want to give a command, you make use of them. You want to make a demand, and you can present it in several ways. How do you present it? Number one, you can use it to give instructions. When you want to give instructions to people, to students, you want to give instruction for something to be done, you make use of an imperative sentence. You are offering advice to someone. You are offering advice, you make use of the imperative sentence. You are making a wish on behalf of someone else. You make use of the imperative sentence. And also, when you are extending an invitation, you also make use of the imperative sentence. And finally, when you are giving a command, which many times we do when we make use of the imperative sentence. We need to note that we do not have any subject present. Many times we make use of our imperative sentence because the subjects have been deleted. And it is assumed that you are speaking directly to either the person or the reader. Imperative sentence sometimes can end in a full stop. Sometimes it can also take an exclamation mark depending on the urgency of such commands. Let's look at some example. Sit down. Sit down. That's an example. Set the oven to 180 degrees. Set the oven to 180 degrees. Try the other door. Try the other door. We can also have it in have a nice day. Have a nice day. Those are imperative sentences. Please take a seat. Please take a seat. Those are examples of our imperative sentences. Do we know how to use our imperative sentences now? Okay, let's move to the next sentence. The next sentence, according to function, that we'll be looking at is the interrogative sentences. At the beginning of the class or the lesson, I asked certain questions. When you say interrogative sentences, we are talking about sentences that we use to ask questions, like I did at the beginning of the class, and typically require an answer. There are a few different types of interrogative sentences. Even though we need to know that we have some questions that really do not require answers, we will look at that also in this particular aspect. The first type of question we have is the polar questions. The polar questions. These are questions that, requires you to answer either saying yes or no. They are also part of our interrogative sentences. We also have what we call alternative interrogatives. We have alternative interrogatives. They are questions that you ask by using your auxiliaries. Your auxiliaries. You can, for example, like you have here, have you eaten today? So, have you seen the latest episode of The Crown? So, some of these are the alternative interrogatives. We also have the WH questions. The WH questions where the question starts with WH. We also have the negative interrogatives. The negative interrogative. We have the tag questions where a statement and a question follows. And finally, we have the rhetorical questions which requires no answers. For those of us that are literature students, we make use of the rhetorical questions in our poetry and sometimes in drama when it is being read. Let's take a look at some of the examples of interrogative sentences. Number 1, have you eaten today? Have you eaten today? Where is the bathroom? Where is the bathroom? The next one, have you seen the latest episode of The Crown? Have you seen the latest episode of The Crown? You don't eat meat, do you? You don't eat meat, do you? Do you prefer tea or coffee? This is an example also of an alternative. Do you prefer tea or coffee? Then the last one, if God be for us, who can be against us? This is a rhetorical question. I hope we now understand what interrogative sentences are. I also want us to take note of something. Whenever you write your interrogative sentences, do not forget the punctuation mark, the question mark. You must always put it to help us understand that you are asking a question. Finally, we have come to the last type of sentences according to the function it performs, and we call it the exclamatory or the exclamative sentences. What are exclamative sentences? They are sentences that we use to express strong feelings. We use to express emotional discharge. We also use them to, show surprise, excitement about something. It must always end. Like the question mark, like the interrogative sentence ends with a question mark, the exclamative sentence must end with an exclamative mark. And here are some examples of exclamative sentences. Lord, what foods make mortar be? A very good example. This is taken from William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night Dream. It's taken from page 1605. Also, what a nice surprise. What a nice surprise is an example of an exclamative sentence. Oh, how lovely. An example of an exclamative sentence, and It is a goal. An example of an exclamative sentence. Can you try to give examples of exclamative sentences on your own? Do we now understand how our sentences function? From the declaratives to the imperative to the interrogative and to the exclamative. It is time for us to practice questions on sentences according to functions. Okay, let us identify the types of sentences according to their functions. You have 1 minute to do this, and I'll be back to provide the right answers to the questions. I believe each and every one of us have been able to get the correct answers to this question. We are going to look at them one at a time. The first question: what type of sentence is this according to the function it is performing? The governor has paid the salaries of workers. What kind of sentence is this? Can someone identify? Yes. It is a declarative sentence. Beautiful. Very good. The next one. How long have you been waiting here? How long have you been waiting here? Can you identify what type of sentence this is? Beautiful. Good. It is an interrogative sentence. You're catching up well. The next one. Wasn't that a scintillating performance? Wasn't that a scintillating performance? What type of question or statement is this? Is it a statement? Is it a question? It is what? An exclamative sentence. Very good. The next one. The man has arrived, hasn't he? The man has arrived, hasn't he? It is what type of sentence? Yes, it is interrogative. This is what we call the tag question. Question number 5. Aren't they fortunate breed? Aren't they fortunate breed? What type of question is that? Wow, yes, it is an exclamative sentence. Okay, let's look at the next set of questions. Question number 6. The American astronauts are in space. The American astronauts are in space. What type of sentence according to function is this? Yes, we know it is a declarative sentence. The next question. They are not here, aren't they? Yes, good. Interrogative. It is interrogative. The next one, question A, we ate samosa for lunch. We ate samosa for lunch. What type of is that? It is declarative. You are declaring. Then the next one, under what conditions have the prisoners been released? This is what? An interrogative sentence. And finally, what a mess they are in. This is what? Exclamative sentence. Beautiful. I believe today we can now identify the types of sentences according to the functions they perform. When you start writing as students, most especially for our WAEC examination and NECO examination, it is important for you to be able to identify the types of sentences you are writing according to the functions they perform. According to the functions they perform. We have come to the end of today's lesson. I hope you would go back and you would read more on this topic, and when you start writing your essays, you should be able to identify each of your sentences by the functions they are performing in that sentence.
ECHO Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
For feedbacks, questions, and comments, feel free to contact us on our social media handle, and we would be willing to respond to you as quick as possible. I remain your favorite English language teacher, Mr. Babajide Olarinwaju. See you in the next lesson.